is, not to put law enforcement on the spot, but that is a local issue as well too. You might have to have a hot spot there where you deal with people who are speeding. You may need to get your traffic light, you may need stop signs, but one of the purposes of law enforcement is education. So when people get out of line, you have to educate them. And sometimes education comes in the form of fines and tickets. That's the first place it starts. When you start parking on other people's property, you get a couple of warnings, then you have to get educated. Now your car gets towed. And after you pay $250 to get it out, you're going to think about parking on somebody else's property during homecoming, football games, and other large events as well too. You have to constantly educate people. The next concern, and without education and without repercussion, there's no change in behavior. All right, and then the next one we have is infrastructure constraints. Water lines, sewage capacity, we hear that time and time again. And I don't want to speak because I'm not a city engineer. I know that people are here that can speak to that, and they should. But what comes first, right? The horse or the cart? Do we try to raise enough money some kind of way, build the infrastructure, and then try to attract developers? Or do we partner with developers to figure out a way that we can do it in tandem? And we're all about working together. So how can we take the projects that we want to bring online and combine that with the goals of the city to upgrade infrastructure? How can we upgrade the water lines that need capacity that has to be increased to have that traffic that's coming down there? Same for sewage as well too. We are willing to work with the city to get that done. Another concern we had, and again, I'm only going by the things that I've heard either the mayor or city council say, is that from my understanding, there's only one officer on duty per shift. And if I'm wrong, just stop me. I'm just telling you based on my understanding. And you gotta have increased tax dollars to be able to hire and pay other people. And as a city, that's only gonna happen when there's some type of economic development, unless you're gonna have an ongoing grant every year. And I'm just gonna speak as an officer in the city of Houston. One officer is a safety hazard. It just is. There's no routine, nothing, even a traffic stop. We watch TV. Traffic stops can go from sugar to another 4-letter word in a hot second. You gotta have, that has to be a priority for the city. You have to have officers, multiple officers for events that escalate in order to get that thing down, okay? Another issue is that we've heard is the seniors property tax. There are some exemptions and reductions in other counties, but it's my understanding that doesn't happen here when you get over 65. And again, even if it's not our project, even if the city never approves our project, all I'm saying is that members of this community, you have to do something to develop your city. Everything is growing around Prairie View. I remember when they I came to Prairie View in '91, and I remember when they built the new 290 coming through here. And it was a long, Texas 290 used to be the Texas Death Highway. I had 3 friends who got killed on 290 while I was here in school. And since then, everything has grown. Houston is almost touching Prairie View. And what I don't want to see, and it's bigger than me, but what I don't want to see is everything grows around Prairie View and we just sit here because no one wants to work with each other. I don't understand why Prairie View just can't be essentially a mecca for the people in this community and alumni that have come through here. There's some amazing alumni who've done some amazing things, that own businesses, they're entrepreneurs, have resources. This could be a real mecca if we work together. And another concern that we heard was, it's unrelated but related. I heard it so many times I wanted to add it, and that is congestion during homecoming, right? There are ways to work with your local government during times like that. You may not be able to completely shut a roadway down, but for safety reasons, you can limit access to that roadway for residents. So if you live on that street and you're ready to go home, you should be able to get on that street. There shouldn't be cars all parked on your property. Remember, education and repercussions, okay? The city has power, the city has rights. You can limit access to your roadway. These are things that, I don't want to belabor it, but these are concerns that can be overcome. And there was another concern I had written earlier. Let me see if I have it. It didn't make my slides, but I had another conversation with someone I wanted to add to that. No, that was it. We talked about parking and easement. Okay. Next slide. So here's our property right now. It's about 8 acres. And it is basically a field like that that just grows wild. And you look in the bottom right-hand corner, that's how much we pay Prairie View right now every year, approximately. This year, we're gonna pay $1,225.25 for that 8 acres. What you gonna do with that? That's nothing. It and other property like that, those are opportunities for the city to grow. And what we wanna do is change that $1,200 a year into something different. I wanna quickly run through those numbers. So we wanna create a modern product in Houston. And our neighbor to the north is Predom. They're gonna present as well too, and I don't speak for them at all. But I will say we do share a similar vision of wanting to create a very strong, modern product that is safe and secure, where people just can't come on the property when they get ready. You can't rent a unit and invite your 3 or 4 friends to come live with you. No, you're not in a lease agreement. There's been no background check on you. We don't know whether you have any felonies. Those people get denied. You can write into rental contracts legally that there are ways to do checks on rooms randomly, right? And I do the same sort of security service, or what we call courtesy officer service, for another high-rise in Houston, in the medical center, and our rents are anywhere from $2,000 a month to $7,000 a month. And the people paying that rate in their lease agreement, we can check to make sure that the people who live in that particular unit are the people who are supposed to be in that unit. And when it's not, they get a warning. If it doesn't change, they get evicted. It's just really that simple. There are ways to get through the issues that we've heard so far. So we want to create a modern product for members of the community first, and then the faculty, staff, doctoral, graduate students, and undergraduate students as well too. So I won't take up a lot of time because there's other people in the public hearing, but these are just proposed layouts of a 1-bedroom unit, 2-bedroom product. We're not doing 4s, but we're thinking of doing a 3-bedroom unit as well too. And based on feedback I heard from last week's meeting, someone said, well, we want townhouses as well too. We can create a mix of apartments and townhouses as well. We couldn't do that in enough time to change this presentation. So what's important on this slide is our unit mix in 1, 2s, and 3s that we want to do in phases, 3 different phases. But when we come online, we want to be able to take that property that's not being utilized right now and create about 350,000 square feet of usable space in that community, which once all 3 phases are done, then we'll create a tax basis, not in total, but just for the city of Prairie View, of $277,000 a year that the city can use for additional services. And that math comes out to $2.7 million over 10 years. And that's just our project. That doesn't include the next project you'll hear about. That doesn't include the revenue that's going to come from the cricket field as well too. Yes, sir?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we give our presenter 3 more minutes so that way we can move along with the public hearing.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the presenter receive an additional 3 minutes. You've heard the motion, ready for the question. All in favor? Ayes have it.
Okay? And so I would just say this as a summary. We are here to work with the city. We are here to listen to the concerns of the citizens, especially our neighbors that are within 200 feet, because they're going to be more affected by anything that happens, even little noise, more than anybody else. So we have an even more sensitive ear to that particular group. But we want to help and work with the city to improve public safety, increase development, support local schools, additional funds to hire additional police officers, and to make our contributions so that our seniors can have some level of tax exemption once they become eligible. Thank you so much.
council has questions now, or do we go through it for the public hearing piece? How do we handle that on the public hearing?
It's at the discretion of the council. If you have questions of the
Okay.
applicant now, council can ask first, and then you
Okay.
can do the public hearing for
Councilman
citizens.
Williams, go
Yes,
ahead.
I
ma'am.
wanted to ask, since it's already R1, what's wrong with building single-family housing?
We could build single-family housing, but we only have 7 acres. So it won't, I mean, the density will be, it'll be just be very low. I do think candidates for single-family properties are more that you can maybe string together. If you can get approximately 30 acres together, you can have a small community. And one I would envision would be like Dr. Anderson's property, James Anderson, his property that's across from the post office. He has that 50-acre tract that runs back to 290. That would be a great single-family community because you have more space as opposed to just putting up 5 houses or something like that. It's just a very small plat or a lot, in my opinion, to be able to really take advantage of single-family housing.
Yes, sir, Councilman Jones.
How would we ensure that you would be a good neighbor? Then, on hearing the issues which our citizens are facing out with the recent housing development?
So the question is, how would, basically, you
Like,
assure
how
that
could
I
we
do the
just-
things that are,
So how could we trust that you said that you'll provide this kind of housing and the housing will be nice and all those kind of things for our citizens? Why should we trust you?
well, I think when it comes to trusting any individual, not just me, I think that you have to look at their character. I came here in '91. I am 46 years old this year. And I would say character is gonna be the biggest thing that determines whether or not you can trust me. I have still friends and relationships in the community of people that I've known that you can just essentially, I hate to say it, but you can ask them about me. As a character reference, I would talk to someone like Dr. Kirby on campus in the engineering department. I've known since I've been here. I would talk to Dr. Anderson, whose family who grew up here as well too and owns a lot of land. Talk to Dr. Hawkins sitting right here in the front row, ask him about me as well too. I don't really know any other way to say it, but it comes down to some level of trust. I would say trust your gut feeling and any kind of interactions you've had with me. And even if it comes to the point of having to draw up something contractually, I'm not sure how that would look. It has repercussions. We talked about education earlier. We'd be open to that as well too.
Yes, Councilman Randall.
I just have I want to make sure that our packet is complete. Along with the application for the mixed-use development plan, did you file a development plan?
Is that the same as our application and submitting diagrams, and is
So
that
at,
something different?
at the time you filed for the zoning classification change, for this type of zoning, you have to do a development plan, which would include all proposed land uses by type and acreage, residential density, lot areas, lot width, lot depths, yard depths and widths, building heights, maximum allowable lot coverage, floor area ratios, parking, public access, landscaping, screening, signage, lighting, amenities, project phasing if applicable. It'll also include topography, existing streets, alleys, and easements, and all public improvements and on-site facilities need to be identified. Was that filed at the same time and we just don't have it in our packets?
I will say this, we have submitted our initial application on the timeline that we had before. We heard back from the city council, not city council, the zoning board several months later, and they asked us for additional information, and we provided that information. So if they didn't ask for it, we didn't provide it. So I have to go through that particular list because I don't have the packet with me, but I know that we did give the board everything that they asked for.
Okay, so we have the building elevations and we have the overall lot plan,
Yes.
but do you have a plan that includes these that could have been
Yeah, like I
included?
said, we can so Denisha handled all that, who's not here.
Okay,
I'm more than, if you wanna pull your records, if not, we'll pull our copies and submit that to you, and you can double check that you received it.
okay, I just wanna make sure that council has everything that they need before them,
Okay.
prior to actually voting on the ordinance, so,
Okay.
which
We
is
thought that
later,
was all
later
in
in the
our
agenda.
packet, but if you can't find it and we have to resubmit that, we can.
Okay,
Councilman.
Good evening, first of all, thank you for being here. My question kind of goes along the lines of, you mentioned that you've had conversations with the neighbors. Could you kind of walk me through how those conversations have went? I know you kind of identified some of the things that neighbors were doing, but there still seems to be like issues with some neighbors. So can you talk to me about how those conversations with the neighbors in that community? And I know that there are a few here that they'll be speaking on as well, so I think it's important to try to bridge the gap and try to figure out, how we can work unified to further our community. I just kind of want to know, like, how those conversations went.
Sure, I think I understand the question, sir. So the issues that I pointed out earlier in those two slides, those were developed from the community meetings that city council helped us put on with the members of the community.
That was through planning and zoning.
Through planning and zoning. It wasn't through city council, but they were invited as well too. That was with planning and zoning. And it was my understanding that at that meeting, everyone within 200 feet, our immediate neighbors, received notification. So we took that meeting as the input from the people who were most impacted. And we recorded the meeting, we wrote down all the issues, summarized it, and we tried to come up with the solutions that we presented here today. I did not address anything that was not said in those particular sessions. If I don't know about it, I can't address it. But I do believe that everything that we heard in the meeting, there is a way to get around it. There is a way to make roads bigger.
Right.
There's a way to deal with water and sewage. There's a way to deal with all these things. So I did not hear any showstoppers. Right now, I think at this point, it's just a matter of what does council believe is in the best interest of the community.
Thank you.
Counselor, the residents who wanted to speak, do they speak now on this issue or after we go through?
it's up to the council. If you want to finish all of your questions of the applicant as a council prior to the community.
Okay. Carol Hardaway Freeman, Ms. Freeman?
I'd like to speak after the other developer gets up and speaks because I am totally against it all.
Okay.
She would need to speak during this public hearing because they're separate questions for the city council to
Will I
consider.
still be allowed to speak?
You can speak to both, yes ma'am.
Oh, I thought you wanted to wait till afterwards, I'm sorry.
I'd like to address the council because you are indeed the ones who are going to make the ultimate decision. I am pleading with you to understand that members of the community are not warranting this. This land was purchased for single-family use, and we pray that you hear our pleas. You have parents, you have grandparents, and I know that they have brought you up to think right and not to walk over anyone. I am pleading with you to understand that this community is already in desperate need of many things, and it's not there. Put something else, put this somewhere else. They bought it with the intent, knowing that it was single-family use. Why? Why should we let anybody bog or cloud our minds and come in and sell us something else? I'm pleading with you. Understand, you have parents, you have grandparents. We have worked hard to keep our little community as it is. They purchased the land. We have no doubt. We can't stop them from putting single-family homes there. But don't go and buy something and know that you have another intent and you want to do something else that undermines the people in this community. Think about us. You're young. I've heard several things, but I don't judge you by what I've heard. You have a heart, and I am pleading with you to listen. Go out in the community. Talk to these people. Many of them are old, they are elderly, They have voices. They have wishes. They have desires. They have dreams. They've built them for you. Please, don't close the door on us. Don't do it. We need you now more than ever. Don't leave us stranded. Don't leave us needing a cane or a walker or a crutch. We need you. This is what you're here for. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not worth anything, because you are, because you come from good people. You have a good standing. Reach down in your heart and realize this is what they bought it for, single family use. Well, do that. Do that. Don't take us to the market and sell us. Please don't do that. I'm pleading with you. Every minute that passes, we lose yet another. Don't do this. Don't close the doors. Don't be blinded.
Would you like more time?
Okay,
Would 2 minutes be fine?
that's fine.
I'll move that we give an additional 2 minutes.
Second.
You've heard the motion, ready for the question? All in favor?
You know, so many times we look beyond our neighbor, but we can't continue to do that. Our neighbors have a need. If you're not picking up their paper, if you're not saying hi, if you're not doing the right thing when you go to the grocery store and you see someone, you all want to put things here. It's not that we don't want to expand Prairie View. We want businesses here. But don't put them in our backyards. I plead with you, don't do that. Don't put them in your parents' backyards. They have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. Think, be wise. Don't let anybody pull the wool over your heads. You're all good people, and I know that. I'm not talking to the audience. I'm talking to you because you have to take this home. I'm not going for your pockets. I'm going for your heart. Do what's right. Please do what's right. I may not be here for the next meeting. We know not what the next minute brings. Do not kill us. Thank you.
Ms. Freeman, if you would, I'm required to make the council aware. Are you one of the folks within 200 feet to receive the letter?
Yes,
You're at 200 feet of that property?
yes.
Okay.
What's the name? I'm sorry, so I can check it off my list. I'll be tracking everybody that have a name.
Hardaway,
Hardaway.
H-A-R-D-E-W-A-Y. And as far as notification, I've heard that developers haven't been notified. Check the homeowners, because we're not getting notified.
Thank you, ma'am. Vanessa DeWalt, Ms. DeWalt?
I'll defer till a later time, because I definitely have something to say, but not on number 4.
Okay. Okay.
Could I
So-
say this, please? That was for all development on Richards Road. For future development on Richards Road for multi-use purposes. Single family, go for it. That's what you bought it for.
Counselor, if that, Councilman Towers.
Mr. Mayor, I ask that, the next 3 presentations be placed for 5 minutes.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that the next 3 presentations be cut to 5 minutes. You've heard the motion, ready for the question?
I'm ready.
Are you ready, Councilman Randall?
Are we still gonna allow those who wanna speak on the topic, time to speak?
Yeah, what I was reading about the presentation is when we present, so that way we can get to the item. I don't mind, public comments addressing the concerns, that stays at 3 minutes, but I'm asking for the presentations for the next. So item 5, 6, and 7.
So my subsequent question would be, for those who have questions, if the developer doesn't have an opportunity to fully explain the projects, how can they adequately address the questions that citizens might have if we cut the I understand trying to
Yeah.
save the time,
No, hold
but
on. Counselor, after the first one went so far, can we?
Well, yeah,
In
so
the
you need
middle
to
of the
establish
same
rules
time.
prior to the public hearings beginning. In order to do that, you can limit it to a reasonable time, which is an undefined amount of time, but it would be similar to the first one, which I believe was approximately 10 minutes, and then you gave him 2 more minutes.
So 12 minutes.
Yeah, so you need to be consistent at this meeting. After, at the next time you have public hearings, you need to go ahead and establish procedures. You have procedures for public comments, but not public hearings.
All right, appreciate it. No, so, I withdraw my motion, Mr. Mayor. I move that presentations 5, 6, and 7 be approximately 12 minutes.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that presentations number 5, 6, and 7 be limited to approximately 10 minutes. You've heard, 12 minutes, I'm sorry, 12 minutes. You've heard the motion, ready for a question?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Let the record show is unanimous. So moved. Number 5, hold a public hearing on an application by Adalberto Salazar Sanchez for the rezoning of property located at 738 Sharon Street, Prairie View, Texas, being lot 174, block 11 of the Prairie View Estates, phase 2 plat from R1 Single Family Residential District to MH Manufactured House District. Mr. Sanchez in the room. Okay, we got this presenter coming up. Okay, so with the presenter not being here, council, we can go forward, take in, have the public hearing, and
You can have
go
the public.
forward. Okay, do we have someone who wanted to speak on item number 5? Going once. Item number 5, going twice.
I will speak on it.
Okay, Mr. Harrison, you raise your hand, come on forward. Come over.
And so if I might, the
Yes.
Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation will be at the time of the city council. So if this is a citizen comment, that's great. But for planning and zoning, we're gonna do it at the time of the ordinance, the actual recommendation. So if that's what you were going to do.
Well,
wanted to let
it
you
could be
know.
considered either way, so, if you recommend that I wait, so that it's just official to, planning and zoning, then I can do so. I defer.
Since we did that on the first one,
If
Okay.
it's your recommendation as P and Z president, then we'll wait on the ordinance, because that's what we'll come. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Yes, you want to speak on this?
Yes, once again, single-family use. Don't let people keep pulling a bag over our heads. Don't. You can't. Deceit is deceit. Any time of day, deceit is deceit.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Barnett?
Is the public hearing closed for number 4, did y'all close that?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we opened up number 5.
But you didn't ask us, there's other people who want to speak on number 4.
I did.
No.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. There's a whole bunch
Okay,
of us that
so-
want to speak.
Okay, so I went through all the cards. So,
Yep, but
you want to come forward?
does
Come on.
everybody, well, first of all,
so
how does everybody
let's,
know?
we're in the middle of number 5 right now. Why don't you reopen number 4 once we finish this one, so that
Okay.
you can go to the audience in case anybody didn't sign
Okay.
cards.
Any other comments on item number 5? Any other comments on item number 5? Public hearing on item number 5 is now closed. Okay, we'll go back to item 4. Ms. Barnett, you wish to speak to item 4?
I do too, and there's some other people that are in the room that want to speak and didn't know they had to fill out cards in order to speak to this matter.
Well, we'll go through it, that's fine. Come on forward.
Would you formally reopen that hearing for me?
Okay, we're reopening the public hearing on the application from Reams LLC and Ally McHenry for the rezoning of property located at 24427 Richards Road, Prairie View, Texas, being tract 93-12, consisting of 7.624 acres, situated in the Justo Leendo Survey, abstract A41, Waller County, Texas, from R1 Single Family Residential District to MU Mixed Use District.
Okay, when the gentleman presented his, whatever, he stated that the taxes that would be, would go towards the senior citizens over 65 helping to pay their taxes. That's not true, because you cannot designate taxes to any one group of people or for any one reason. Secondly, how long is it gonna take for you to accumulate tax money to pay for a police officer? And by the way, Myrtle, when they said that their land, that's y'all land they're talking about, that's been rezoned, and do you know about it? Because we don't know about it. That they said it's for multi-use, that's y'all's property, in case you didn't know that. But anyway, we do have areas within the city that are zoned for R3, which could be multi-use, multi-family, or commercial. There's nothing on Richards Road that is for that. It's strictly R1, which is a residential 1, or ag use. So when did they rezone y'all's property? We don't know, and nobody knows about it, but I guess it was something under the table again, and nobody knew. So, in order for property to be, it's areas that you can put whatever you want, townhouses, apartments, that have been zoned for that, and that's what that should be. You shouldn't allow people to come in to the city and rezone it and put what they want and make our city look like checkerboard. You keep throwing these apartments down our throats next to our senior citizens and our families without them even coming up and saying anything. You haven't come out and talked to nobody on this road, because we live there. So you didn't come to our house, okay? And I did get a letter. So nobody came and asked us anything. So all that property on Richards Road is R1. It should stay R1. R3 areas are zoned within the city, so you should put your property or your projects where they are zoned for. And quit ramming them down our throat.
Councilman Jones?
Could I possibly ask a question due to the map that we have that's shown? Because maybe I haven't been here since 1985 or 95, so I don't know. But from this map in which we have that we have to make all the cities off of, when did that map change from this use, Ms. Brennan? I'm asking because I know you said I'm counting together, so you might have some information which I don't. I asked when that map.
When it came into the system, there's your zoning officer right there, you can ask.
That map is the same map that was online for the city when I became mayor in May 2016. So that's the same map. It hasn't changed in 3 years.
So there's an apartment complex that sits right there already. So in order for that, whatever year that apartment complex was put there, that's when that part of that's the only way they could have put, what is that apartment?
University Trails.
And that was put there without the citizens knowing and having the opportunity to come out and say anything.
I'm not sure about that. All of that's before my time.
Right, and we understand that.
Hold on, audience, you don't speak unless you recognize, please, it's an open public meeting.
What I'm saying, all I'm saying is that Councilman asked the question about when that